may not be suitable for all audiences.
What's the matter?
What's the matter?
Art 101 with Mr.Burgher.
Scholars, welcome back to another episode of Art 101 with me, Mr. Burgher. I'm a professional artist and educator attempting to provide the best in art historical content. If you like the content, make sure you interact with the content. Thank you.
The show finds out about things that I want to find out about.
Wassily Kandinsky was a pioneer in abstract expressionism. So today, as you know, because you clicked on the video, we're going to take a look at Kandinsky. A pioneer of the abstract and one of the founders of Expressionism, Wassily Kandinsky, sometimes considered the father of abstract expressionism, was born in Moscow, Russia. He was born into a merchant family and his parents divorced when he was 5 and he went to live with an aunt. She was able to provide lessons in music, drawing, and painting throughout his youth. As time passed, he eventually reached the age of 20 and began his formal education studying law and political economics at Moscow University. While he was there, he assisted with a research project that took him to the northern regions of Russia, where their strong folk art traditions would inspire the young man. And although he earned his degree in law in 1892, he was soon more focused on making art than practicing law. He was not just inspired by these art traditions of northern Russia, but also very much inspired by the French Impressionists, most specifically Claude Monet. Law was paying the bills. He was lecturing and he was a newly married man, albeit to his cousin, but married all the same. And law was able to provide an income, but the desire to make art just couldn't be shook. And so in 1895, Kandinsky would take his first job in the art field as the art director of a publishing house in Moscow. He was offered a position as the head law instructor at a university, but he turned that down to pursue his painting career. He and his wife would move to Munich, Germany, where he would study art at the art school under Anton Asby. Kandinsky was about 30 years old at this time. His wife, a very intelligent person, liked art, but she married a lawyer, not an artist. She wasn't into moving to Germany, and after 7 years, she left him. As his art instructor, Asby did not care for Kandinsky's work, which was a frustrating point for Kandinsky. If there was anything positive to come out of this whole thing, it was his connection with other artists, including those like Alexis von Jawlensky and Marianne von Werfgen. Under Fritz von Struck, he entered the Munich Academy of Art in 1900, where he would focus his artistic passions in teaching, composition, and the written analysis of artwork.
Who needs an education when one has such a personality, such a profile, such a physique?
Over the years, Kandinsky was able to band together for the good of the whole group. His first artist association, Phalanx, was founded by Kandinsky in 1901. This group would have 12 exhibitions. He would even found a Phalanx School of Painting. Through the school, he met Gabriele Munter, who became a cherished companion and critic until 1914. She would be the first romance that he would have since his wife had left him, although the two would have a kind of hot and cold relationship, as he would send her kind of mixed messages about his feelings and things like that over the years. During his time with this particular school, Kandinsky created the style that he would become most known for. Influenced by Paul Cézanne as well as Henri Matisse, he would build up colors, lines, and textures that would take him out of the real world and into this non-objective abstraction. Neue Kunst, Leiner Virigon, which is a butchering of the group known as the New Group of Artists, which was founded with his friend von Jawlensky. When founding his third art association, Kandinsky would team up with a good friend and German painter, Franz Marc, and in 1911 the team would co-found Der Blaue Reiter, or the Blue Rider, a society that I've looked at before, which was basically a cooperative of all artists types, including the visual artists as well as actors and musicians, with Kandinsky himself even writing a book concerning the spiritual in the art, which is a book containing, among other things, a theory that in the year 2000, the relationship between music and paint would fuse and people would be able to see sound and hear color, and so he would create paintings on this theory so that when people would walk into the art museum, they would hear jazz music. Another component of Der Blaue Reiter was their written and published almanac beginning in May of 1912, where Franz Marc would write many of the articles, and at the outbreak of World War I in August of 1914, Marc would enlist, being moved to the front lines of that conflict, keeping with him at all times a sketchbook, and he would inadvertently create Sketchbook from the Field, through which we see the German perspective on the war, and he was killed during combat in France. For Kandinsky, the outbreak of war was a very different story. He was a Russian enemy in the middle of a very hostile Germany. He would flee to Switzerland before returning to Russia. He returned to his homeland and was remarried in 1917 to Nina. The groom was 50 and the bride was 23. The Bolshevik Revolution ignited many new ways of doing business in this country, including in the area of the arts. Kandinsky would help organize plans for the new Museum for Artistic Culture in Moscow, which he was also the first director of. By 1919, he was a chairman on the All-Russian Commission that was in charge of the acquisition of new works for the museums in Russia. He would go on to become a professor of aesthetics at Moscow University and founded and professed at the Institute for Artistic Culture in Moscow. He expanded upon his ideas and would take those ideas back to Germany. He was frustrated with the Russian government and refused to push its propaganda. He would say, "There is no must in art because art is free."
I'm not European. I don't plan on being European. So who gives a crap if they're socialists?
With World War I over, he had his opportunity to go back to Germany, which he did, joining the teaching staff at the Bauhaus from 1922 till 1933, when it was closed at that time by the Nazis. All the while, Kandinsky was working.
I'd like that job.
Through this entire story of ups and downs and taking on jobs, Kandinsky was working. He never lost the energy for creating his own paintings. While teaching at the Bauhaus, his name became world famous. He was the leading abstract painter. One of the most known works that he would create at this time was Yellow, Red, Blue. After the Bauhaus would close, Kandinsky would move to France and settle there, not too far from Paris, and this would become his last residence. Still a major part of the international art scene, he was productive but often snubbed by many of the French art circles. When the Degenerate art show first emerged, 57 of his works were included. Many of his works were confiscated and destroyed by the Nazis. At this point, he knew that he was never going to be able to go back to Russia or Germany, so he and his wife became French citizens in 1939. Over the last 10 years of his life living in France, Kandinsky would create 144 oil paintings and 250 watercolors. It is not known how many works he created in total over his lifetime, because many of those were confiscated, destroyed, or lost due to the conflicts of war that would destroy his work as well as lots of other works.
I'm sorry, this story is rather personal to me.
He's an influential artist, an artist whose ideas, as well as his art, have influenced many artists, and a scholar would be wise to check out his work and his words. I hope you enjoy that content as much as I love being able to bring it to you. Make sure that you like, share, subscribe, and remember, there is Mr. Burgher merch available at redbubble.com. You have yourself a good day, and we'll see you next time.
You're the best friend I ever had.
You pretty okay too.